Hey Fivers, this is After the Five for a product video. Yay! So, oh yeah, get your Red Bull. Yeah, Mitch and I are drinking Red Bulls because it's, let me get my phone. It is literally 4:04 in the morning. It is 4:04 in the morning. Yeah, funny story. I was talking with Brennan today of Mosaic. And today is not the 21st. In reality, it is the
18th.
It is the 18th. And I said, well, wait, I guess I talked to Brennan on the 17th.
Yeah.
I said, Brennan, you know, I was going to email and be like, yo, I know you got something new coming out. Let's chat about ways we can promote it. But Brennan beat me to it because Brennan emailed me.
Classic Brennan.
Classic Brennan. And he's like, hey, we got this new thing coming out. And I was like, replied to the email and I said, call me. And then I was like, screw this. Brennan left his phone number. I have his phone number. So I called Brennan. I'm like, yo, Brennan. He's like, hey, Joel, what's going on? And we hatched this idea where they were going to send me assets about the Palette 2. And I was going to showcase the Palette Plus, the one that I have, give a quick overview of what it was, and then pretend Brennan was calling me. And I'd answer the phone and say, yes, Brennan? Check my email. Why? Okay. Hold on, and then I would go to check my email, and then there would be this cool email about Palette 2, and I would, and all this artwork, and I'd get to talk about it. It's kind of like what I did for the Prusa Mark III video at New York Maker Faire last year. But yeah, and then like 15 minutes later, Brennan called me. He's like, how about our CEO Mitch flies up to you? He can be there at 1 o'clock in the morning, but he's got to catch a flight 6 hours later. Does that work? And at that point, I mean, what do you say when someone asks you that? You say yes. You say absolutely. And you get Red Bull, and you just go for it.
Is there anything weird about it? I think it was quite convenient. I was in San Francisco. I was pretty close by.
See, that's just it. That's just it. I thought, so Mosaic is based in Toronto, so I thought this guy jumped on a plane in Toronto last minute and flew to me. No, he was down in San Francisco talking to Tested. Talking with you know, I assembled a computer with Simone and Sean and with Tested. Tested knows me. They're good people.
They did know you. I told them when this came up, I said, by the way, I didn't know this an hour ago, but in 3 hours I'm getting on a flight to go see Joel, and they definitely know you.
Oh,
and then I happened to see Adam Savage, which was pretty cool.
Adam's good people. He's he is doing Mythbusters Junior, and a couple of those Junior Mythbusters are people I know. One is Allie. She goes by Robot Maker Girl on Twitter, and Prusa gave her a printer, and so. I'm gonna make sure she sees this because I think she might be interested in a palette system because she does a lot of STEM stuff, speaking engagements, inventing. This is like what this is meant for. It's I mean, it's not just prototyping, but like we displayed here, there are some finished products. Yeah. I mean, you could prototype till the cows come home with something like, I mean, a normal printer, sure. With this, even more so. But oh, it's so refined, you guys. Like. Here, you know what? Since this is After the 5, we can do this. Here we go. This is the Palette Plus. Look at this box. People, there's wall mounts that are on Thingiverse, and my buddy Keith down at Protopasta, he actually made a mount for the Palette Plus that holds 4 spools of filament. And I mean, it's great, but are you bringing that over?
I am.
Yeah, bring it over because it's not just a revision of a product. It's almost like it's a new product because they're running towards the same finish line. Just one is taking a much more efficient path, a much more scenic path, a cleaner path, a better maintained path, you know, a path where it's trying to help you get to the goal line. And it's just, I mean, look at that. Oh, it's so good. Oh, and one thing, I mean, I'm going to count this as a sponsored video on the channel, but I want to make sure you know, my supporters, I took zero money for this, and because I really like everybody at Mosaic. Like, Mitch is a wonderful dude. Brendan's a wonderful dude. Derek is probably the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Let's be honest.
Ever.
Like, ever. And I just wanted to showcase new and cool. So any fee for a sponsored video was waived, and I even gave Mitch a Red Bull.
And thank you for that. We appreciate it.
Maybe some McDonald's breakfast. It's 24-hour, you know.
Getting pretty close.
Anything you want to mention to the audience here? These are my After the Fivers. These are my top supporters. These are people that make it possible that I get to do this. So I thank them every time. But is there any cool behind-the-scenes story you could relay? Maybe an aha moment or something like a moment in time that you knew was going to change your life forever.
Yeah. Oh, there's been, I don't know if I mentioned this, Palette 2 has been in development for more than 2.5 years.
That's a long time.
So there has been a ton of changes that went on. One I can say is that, this is really crazy that the team pulled this off, but Palette 2 and Palette 2 Pro, that distinction didn't exist until about 6 months ago.
Oh.
We were cramming our heads against the wall. We were listening to feedback from customers, people saying, oh, it needs all these things, it needs to be really fast, it needs to have all these extra parts, and then people saying it needs to be as affordable as possible. And we're like, we're trying to meet needs that are at very opposite ends of the spectrum, and it became clear what we need to do, break the product into two, cater better to each group. And so the fact that we went from 1 to 2, and then actually Canvas Hub was introduced even later on, this was only it only became obvious that we needed to do this a couple months ago. So that is a behind-the-scenes aha moment, the fact that after 2.5 years of development, in the last 6 months, it proliferated from 1 to 3 different products. That was pretty wild.
Here's what I really, really like about what you're doing. Between Palette 2 and Palette 2 Pro, they do the same thing. You haven't crippled Palette 2, and you haven't added extra functionality to Palette 2 Pro. Pro means faster and higher availability, right?
Yes.
With spare parts and that Splice Core Pro, then faster printing, more availability for filaments because you're going faster most likely because you have more expensive machines that can do that sort of thing, and spare parts to keep it going in case anything falters or breaks down, which is perfect because that's what a pro shouldn't be this better product necessarily. It should be an industrial refinement of what's currently available. Maybe some, if you were going to add functionality to it, maybe stuff that was specific for industrial users or hardcore users or something. But I love that the difference between the Palette 2 and the Palette 2 Pro is speed and availability.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Thanks for acknowledging that, because that was incredibly deliberate. I think it's really easy to take features away from one to try and adjust the proportions of who's buying which, but that was exactly the opposite of the point here. This was about different needs of different customers and making sure that we could sort of match those. But Palette 2 is very much the best product we've ever made. And the same goes for Palette 2 Pro. It's not that Palette 2 Pro is the best product we've ever made. So that was really, really important. And yeah.
One thing I was thinking, because I know on Twitter I had conversations with people about a splicing machine. Mm-hmm. And it was born of the Palette Plus. If only each of the inputs had a filament sensor, and you just wanted to take a bunch of ends and make new filament. Mm-hmm. But with the Splice Core, that all of the sudden makes that device possible because you've reduced. It's not a stepper anymore, so you don't need a motor in there for that specific thing. But I mean, some sensors and one drive. I don't know. It just seems like you could, not that you have time, but you could make another product that was specifically a filament splicer.
I saw what your brain just did there. At first you were like, yeah, it would be that simple. And then you realized what I'm about to say, which is that I wish it was that simple as stripping stuff away, but if you think about what's going on in palette, the splice core is where the magic happens, but at the end of the day, every single other part of the system is integral to making that work.
Yeah.
You need a motor on the ingoing, on the outgoing, a homer, a cutter.
You saw my brain actually
you're like,
process that,
this is the
right?
thing.
Yeah.
But on this note, there's another tidbit of interesting information. One of the most requested features from people that you can now do with P2 and couldn't with P+, is runout detection. What that means is that when you're getting near the end of your spool, if you're doing a really big print that you wouldn't want to fail, you'd say, screw the 50 cents of filament, I'm going to start a new roll. With Palette 2, you don't need to worry. When that first spool runs out, it's going to detect that because there's a sensor on each drive, pull that filament back, and switch over to another one. So you could load in the end of your spool of green.
Oh.
Yep.
Wait, so this is already accomplishing what I want?
Yes. It's $4.99, but you're not just getting a filament splicer, you're getting the entire multi-material upgrade for your printer.
Oh.
But yes, it very much is doing that.
But this is great because now, Mitch!
I'm sorry we missed that one. It's I'll blame it on the 4 in the morning.
Yeah, it's 4 in the morning. But you know, if I have 20 filaments that have a little bit on each one, and I just load it into the 4 inputs, and if it's taking from one and then it runs out, it'll just cycle to the next one.
Yep.
And then I can just use the menu system to load that first one again, right?
Yeah, so you could do that live during the print eventually.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you're planning for it, if you're doing a 2-color print, you could have 2 whites and 2 yellows. And that way you're using 100% of your filament. It's saving prints. So print farms, there's interesting use cases. People like, you know, you have tons of filament that I can see off the shot here.
I do, yeah.
And I think a lot of people run into that. You're ordering your next spool, but you err on being conservative rather than taking the risk. But now you don't have to take that risk. You're going to use all your filament. And I think we can go really far with that, with inventory management, actually predicting and knowing how much filament you have. So we'll get there, but even just for now, right out of the box, runout detection is in Palette 2 and Palette 2 Pro.
Well, it's great though, because not every expensive machine comes with filament detection.
Right.
Like the Raise 3D Pro 2, it's $6,000. I don't remember if it does. Like the new Ultimaker does,
Right.
But the Ultimaker 3, that's still $4,000, doesn't.
Yep.
You know, the Prusa does, but my G-Max doesn't.
Yes.
Yet.
Yep.
The CNC Artemis doesn't. That's fantastic, because if you're going to start a very long print and you don't want to worry about it, you could load all 4 inputs with the same filament color and just hit go and then go to sleep or go travel the world.
Yeah, no, you're hitting all the there's some people with black belts and printers like that reached out that this is funny because it's like 1% of what the product was meant to do, but hey, it's meeting their need. They just want, exactly what you said, 4 2-kilogram spools. So they've got 8 full kilograms, so they can start a print on a Friday, and in the case of something like the black belt, just continuously be printing. And even not the black belt, other printers that are able to clear the bed automatically. We're seeing a trend now. I don't know if you've noticed. I've seen 4 or 5 printers recently that have the ability to automatically remove the part from the bed.
Really?
Yeah. That's going to lead to a kilogram per day increase substantially, meaning that this becomes more important. So
yeah.
I think we're seeing changes, and I think that runout detection is going to be a really, really, like you're saying, valuable one.
I would foist runout detection on high. I would hold it above my head and be like, this is cool. It makes cool color prints and dual material stuff, but it's got built-in runout detection across 4 inputs.
You're right. And thank you for doing that. Now we can use that.
You should.
We should.
You should.
We will.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for your support. I hope this was a fun little After the 5 conversation. Again, it's a product video, and it's about the Palette 2. Go check it out at mosaicmfg.com.
Nailed it.
Mitch, thanks again.
Thank you,
Give
sir.
one of those, and then we'll end up with one of those. Then I always say, and I'll see you in the next video. And then I wave.